EP4 Midwest Guys presents Star Trek Picard Review.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 4 Midwest Guys Presents Star Trek Picard Review. Today we'll be reviewing Season 1, Episode 4, Absolute Candor. With me here, as always, is to help me review this, Mr. Brian Ankerbauer.
What's up, what's up?
What's going on, B?
Not much, man.
All right. So, decent episode. I like this one.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I still feel like we're kind of falling in the
Build-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was still a good episode from start to finish.
Just enough action, I thought. So let's talk about the first scene. We start with another flashback, just like in episode 3. This time, it's the Romulan Starfleet resettlement hub planet of Vashti, and it's 14 years ago from where we are currently in the Picard timeline.
So this is right before the Mars attack.
Right before the Mars attack, he's kind of making a more of a hospitality visit than a. It's kind of a. I'm going to see my friends, and then I'm going to go to the main hub or central city and welcome a new batch of refugees, kind of thing. It's kind of a holiday to him, really.
Yeah, when he was speaking about it, it sounded like he does this frequently because the kid who we find out, Eleanor, he asks how long are you going to stay this time. Because it seems like he does this very frequently. He'll stop by at this,
say hey, check in on everybody. Yeah, I definitely got the same feeling. Picard, at least at this point in time, is kind of seen as a savior. Like, as soon as he beams in, people are just asking him questions. When am I going to settle? You know, you going to help? What's happening? They're like begging around him almost.
Well, like in I guess in their mind, Picard is Starfleet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he's their point of contact. He's the one who knows everything. He's basically in control of this, the resettlement project. So in their mind, I guess he's the one who has all the answers. So as soon as he shows up, everybody flocks. Like, oh, hi, how's it going? We're doing this. When are we doing that? And he goes, oh, it's blah blah blah. We're still working on it. And
don't worry, Starfleet's gonna be here. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But he's very, very open. It's an open society. Everybody doesn't.
Well, they even do the open book.
Yeah, they're doing the. That's kind of more the nun thing. But yeah, there's.
Well, he does it down there at the.
He does. You're right.
He does it down at the cantina.
Yeah. So it's a very open society. Very nice. Very they're scared. They're worried about what the future is, but they're hopeful. I guess there's still hope.
What it reminds me of is like a. Like one of your like more cleaner areas, like settlement wise, but it just seemed a little overpopulated. So like all of your like all the buildings were all clean and everything else, and everything was kept nice
because it was new.
It was and everything seemed, and there was birds chirping and everything else, and and Picard's wearing all white.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really odd. I don't think I've ever seen him in all white.
I don't think so either, but it definitely gives him like the good guy saint even.
I was waiting for him to. I was waiting for him to say, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." It was pretty funny because I was like, "This is weird."
Cue the music.
Yeah. But it was funny because like you could just tell like this town. It was it was like, your refugee place. Before it got overpopulated. Like you could tell it was overpopulated. Like there was a lot of people in the streets.
Yeah, like
but it was like recently overpopulated.
It was like the planet isn't really meant to be what they're using it for, right?
Correct.
Now. Yeah, it's like an Ellis Island kind of. Yeah, you gotta hang out here for a little bit, and then we'll get you into the mainland or to other places in this case. Right. A jumping point to other planets. So he has the help of the Quat Malat.
Yep.
I've been trying.
Yep. Quat Malat,
which is a Roman warrior knight nuns. Romulan. I said Roman, didn't I?
Yeah.
Romulan warrior knight nuns.
I laughed.
Yeah, I did too. But historically, I can maybe like a Joan of Arc kind of type, but it's an entire order. As far as like a warrior, I'm trying to think of like strong female warriors from history, our history, to compare it with. That's Amazonian maybe kind of, but the very religious sect though. That's why I use Joan of Arc.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like a female version of the Knights of the Round Table, or a female version of the what is it? The Knights.
Well, you mean like the Illuminati or the Knights of the Holy Grail?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was. That's right.
That might be close.
Like a female version of that is kind of like what I.
Yeah. They have an interesting set of beliefs, though. They believe in absolute truth or candor. So there's, no matter what you're feeling, you don't hold back anything. Mm-hmm. If you're feeling it, you say it.
Yeah,
and it's completely open.
Yeah, because I mean, that's, if you think about it, that's how resentment starts. Mm-hmm. Is I feel hurt, but I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
And then it starts changing, and then your attitude towards them changes, and they can sense it, and then they change. So if everything's out in the open all the time,
then everything's out. It's literally everything's there.
Yep.
There's nothing to hide.
Yep.
Or to hide behind, so to speak. Which is the exact opposite of their enemy, which is the Tal Shiar.
Right, which is like, we found it later when they're talking about, and she's like, "Are you a member of the Tal Shiar?" And he says no, and she goes, "But if you were a member of the Tal Shiar, would you tell me no?" Yes.
Yeah, we're liars.
Yeah, we're liars. So, yeah, okay.
They also liked how they used the opportunity for us fans to show, because Picard in this is very open and very friendly, and especially towards Elnor, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. He's very almost grandpa-like.
You know what it's reminded me of when we were watching. I was watching. I was like, "Wow, X-Men changed him."
Professor X.
Yeah, because like what he is with the, and I never thought about it until this episode, with the way he is on Star Trek. Where he was always Wesley. You know what I mean? Like, it was always.
He's the father figure, the captain, always.
Yes, he was always the general type dad. Mm-hmm. He was never the consoling type.
Yeah.
Whereas in X-Men, he was that nurturing figure with all the kids and everything else, and bringing them in, trying to train them. And I was like, wow, he really did play two opposite roles there. And it didn't dawn on me until I saw this scene.
And they pointed out
that he doesn't like kids because they
get in the way
of duty and pleasure. But I thought you liked me. But I like you very much. I'm like, oh, that was Xavier. That was Professor Xavier right there. That was, it was like,
yeah.
It was just funny. It was one of those moments like, you're like,
It's a great way to show respect to us fans, going, Captain Picard would never act like that. Well, this is obviously inaccurate because, but.
Right, and because
nerd in us.
Yeah, because we don't know where he went from after Nemesis to being the Admiral.
Correct.
Like, it's that bridge gap there where he learned.
Yeah,
all that stuff,
and he's opened up. He's more, well, he's softened in age. Let's face it, and he's taken the kid Elnor under his. I know I'm mispronouncing that. Under his wing essentially, and he's all about. Well, he's basically placed this kid with these nuns because he can't find anywhere else to put the kid. At some point along the way, he became an orphan, and he was just. It sounds like Picard put him with the nuns temporarily,
right? Until a more suitable place
would open.
And then in the meantime, he's teaching about fencing.
Yes,
you can
Three
see
Musketeers,
the fencing, and then the book, The Three Musketeers. He brings him to talk to him about, and he's all excited about the book.
Yeah,
and he's reading him the book as he's talking, and it was like.
It felt like my grandpa telling me a
Yes.
story before I go to bed or something.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, what's that? I'll show you tomorrow." But
Yeah.
and he goes right back. He's really into the story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he's still Jean-Luc Picard, but this is a completely different side.
Yep.
This is Grandpa Picard
Yeah, yep, exactly.
going on. But there's definitely a theme here about promises.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole thing, he's promising everybody on the planet that the Federation's going to be there. We'll help you. It will happen. Please give it time. I promise, promise, promise. He comes to the house, and what does he say about the boy? Must be very lonely. I promise I'll find him a better place eventually once, things settle down.
Mm-hmm.
So all these promises are out there, and they make a point to put it out there.
Yep.
And we'll revisit that here in a little bit. Moving on to Rios' ship. So Dr. Girardi is rather bored with space.
Yeah.
And enjoys, tormenting Captain Rio.
Well, yeah, she's like that kid that, like, if she sees something, she just pokes it, keeps poking it and poking it and poking it and poking
Yeah.
it. Because he's been reading his book,
Yeah.
my life's despair or something, whatever it was. It was like
Yeah.
some kind of like down, like real deep, like depressing type book.
The existentialism
Yeah,
of death.
of my own, living with knowing my own death,
or watching somebody else's death, something like that. Yeah.
which kind of actually goes back to our thought process. We'll talk about it later, but with the whole hologram stuff. But
Right.
and he's just sitting there reading. She goes, "I grew up with a dad. I grew up with a guy who liked books,
Paper
and,
books, yeah.
and blah 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 blah. And I used to know him too." And he closed the book and said, "Well, how did he deal with it?" Well, he was my dad, and he had to deal with it. Like, oh my god, it was crazy.
All right, so let's talk about it for a brief second. I still think she could still be an android herself, just the way she's.
Well, she did. The way she presents herself.
Yeah.
Some of the questions that she says. She's either she's either one of those like so smart she's stupid.
Right. No common sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
so little experience of the real world.
yes.
Yeah.
Or it's a or she could be an android.
Yeah. I still think it's there. I still think there's a. I'll keep it about 20% right now.
Well, it's funny because you had mentioned that before. So with this episode, during her scenes, I kind of watched to see if like
any tells.
there was any tells.
Yeah.
Like to see if like maybe she didn't blink the entire time like she was going or anything like that. No, she blinks.
She blinks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually looking for it because I was trying to. So I was like, ooh, is there a tell that we could break on 4 Midwest guys? Like, oh, she didn't blink the entire time, or
Yeah.
But no, there was none of that.
Well, you know what I'm thinking about the whole time? I'm still obsessed with the 5 queens, all the way back from the first episode. I think there's still 5 female characters that are going to drive the story, or a part of the story. 2, we already know about. The other 3, we're not sure about yet. So I'm always looking for, or it's 5 that'll still be alive. Like there was a 6th one, and now they're down to 5. That kind of thing.
Yep.
So I'm always looking for that in the back of my head. That kind of like you were looking for. That's what's going through my head the whole time. Also in this scene, Raffi is not happy about her stopover in Vashti. Confronts Rios about it. I guess my question from that is, why is the rush to Free Cloud for her? Is it drug related?
Well, that's what only thing I think of is it's either drug related or it's personal. Like she knows somebody on Free Cloud, or it's a former shipmate of theirs that's going to be there on Free Cloud. I mean, you could tell there's a pool.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna guess when we found when in the very beginning, the first episode with her, and she's going through the stuff, and it says whatever found on Free Cloud. I'm not so sure.
She finds something else that looks appealing to her.
Yes.
At the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. So turns out on this ship, Picard has his own hollow suite, and it looks just like his vineyard office. How convenient for
set purposes,
for filming. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's apparently a hollow suite program, which is another form of Rios
that came with the ship.
How many hollow programs are there? For God's sakes, we're up to 3 now. So we had the Scotty emergency navigation. We had the emergency doctor. Now we've got I will call it emergency, but basically he's a hollow suite program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they all look like Rios, and they all have different personalities. Like, obviously, the hollow suite program is designed to, does this meet your, are you like a hotel manager kind of? Whereas the doctor was a straight up doctor, kind of in his face, like Bones kind of was, and then the navigation had a Scottish accent, which kind of like Scotty, but they're all different so far. What's your take?
Well, we talked about like our little theory about it, because is Rios
a
hologram, and he's the emergency navigation, like he's the emergency captain of this ship, and because it's very, very odd, and that would be why he doesn't like the other holograms. Yeah, because he's a hologram himself.
Yeah,
and here's my actual guess is that the death that he saw
of the captain
was actually himself, Rios.
The real captain.
Yeah.
And that's why it's existential.
Yeah. And that's why he's reading about his extensions of death and everything else. He saw my own death.
Yep.
Because he did see his own death, essentially. And so maybe everybody on that, all the Rioses are
that
holograms.
Yep. Yeah. It's very possible, and I think that would be a hell of a little twist if that's... let's throw that out there as an official 4 Midwest Guy theory. There we go. So... theory for the show. We'll stick to it, see what happens, because I think it's a strong one. We get some more background information on the whole system. So the Vashti planet is also part of, I think it was the Kyros system, I think is what they said. And apparently it's not what Picard left. It's now kind of run by thieves and warlords, and one in particular they call Candor.
Yeah, they said there was a power vacuum that happened.
Yeah.
And Candor came in with his original bird of prey.
Yeah,
that he procured somehow.
Yeah, Romulan original Star Trek series bird of prey, like the first time we ever see the Romulans in one of those kind of ships. That's how old it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where was I? I always lose my thought. There I am. And apparently, this whole area was, according to Picard, was supposed to be governed, or the peace was supposed to be kept by something called the Fenris Rangers, or it's in their territory anyway.
Right.
But apparently they don't have enough resources to keep the peace anymore, which is part of the whole power vacuum thing, I guess.
Right, which makes sense because they overpopulated this planet.
Right.
With Romulans, so where the Fenris probably could have had, if they're in charge of this whole like quadrant or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they only had, 10 per planet
or something,
right? And it was enough to keep everybody in peace. Well, you just threw however many thousands of Romulans onto this one place,
which have now multiplied over the last 14 years on
top
of it.
Right, and so now they didn't have enough to maintain all the peace everywhere.
Yeah, I'm actually I would want the idea of a Texas Space Ranger. In Star Trek, I kind of want to see that, so I'm hoping they run into him at some point.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, to see, like, especially if they make him like a Wyatt Earp kind of character or something. That'd be fucking badass in Star Trek. That'd be badass in Star Wars. But anyway, also we find out that Vashti is also a hotbed for what they're calling the Romulan rebirth movement, which. The only thing I can come up with, Brian, is I'm assuming that's putting the Empire back together, the Romulan Empire. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, and we talked about it. They showed the armbands.
Yeah, they kind of look like
and it looks like a Empire / Resistance or like a Romulan Third Reich.
Third Reich, yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got.
And it was like okay, that's interesting, because I guess maybe they feel that and we is that this next one, yeah, where we talk about how they felt like they were split apart, so they're trying to bring themselves back together. Yeah. And it's one of those like Romulan first, you know what I mean? Like, so it kind of makes sense to a degree that they're trying to put themselves back together, so they're rebirthing the
yeah. So it's a movement,
because we kind of watched that on Discovery with the Klingons.
Yeah,
and their rebirth basically of the bringing the houses together,
reuniting the race. Yeah. This is much more like it has much more of a Nazi feel to it, though. Like they're being manipulated. Yeah. But we'll see. We also learn the only other thing we learn really is about the Quat Milat is that they're really fierce warriors. In addition to everything else we talked about, which we get to see here in a minute. And Picard goes to Vashti. He wants to go to Vashti. I mean
Vashti.
I would say Vashti. Vashti because he may not be by this way again. So he's very cognizant of his age and his mortality.
Yeah,
and his guilt.
Yeah, whether it's his age death wise, or this mission death wise, or like you said, his guilt.
Yeah,
those three things are. He's like, I have to stop.
Yeah, this is my last chance.
Yep,
I have to see what's happened.
And in his mind, this is still that place where he was respected, where it was a peaceful planet, where it was, there was no outrage, there was no.
Yeah, this was his good work, his good deed, his humanitarian mission that he had set up.
Yep.
And we'll find out more here when we get to it.
Yep.
So switch back to the Borg cube, and we're in Soji's quarters, and she's watching an interview of Ramda. That's our XB or ex-Borg Romulan.
But it's before she became part of the Borg.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a
talk show. She calls it a talk show called Rar Mahar. I was like,
I didn't even catch that part. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was when they were talking. He was like you saw an interview, blah blah blah. She's like, yes, it was on a talk show called Rar Mahar. I'm like,
okay,
like that. Okay, they went.
We're really getting deep now.
Like Romulans had talk shows now.
That's apparently the Oprah or Donahue of the Romulan Empire. But yeah, she talks about something that like a date in their mythology, which it's called Gamadon, which I would compare to our Armageddon Day, which is the day of annihilation of all life, not just in Romulan but everywhere. She further explains it's the demons that are shackled and chained will break them, and they'll answer the call of the destroyer. So we get a little bit more mythology kind of starting to build, and because obviously last episode she called Soji the Destroyer,
right? And since we know that Soji is a synthetic, are the demons
that are bond and chain?
Is that what we see in the trailer? All the synthetics that were put away,
probably.
Is that what it is, or maybe, or one of the other things is that the Borg,
or a combination of the
or
two.
is it a combination?
Because they're all related for somehow, we don't know yet how.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just we can see where we're going, we just can't actually see the pieces put together.
Yeah, the only thing I get a really vague picture of so far by taking all this information up to this point is I can see Soji, if you believe their story anyway, Soji leading an army of synths with Borg technology to assimilate humans into turning them into robots for them. That whole kind of twist and turn.
Well, what if it's twofold? What if it's not twofold? What if there's a couple other ways that could go. Like, so there's that. There could be, or it could be that the Romulans, the end of all life, blah 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 blah. They misinterpreted that, and it just means the end of all Romulan life.
Yeah. Not
all life, just the Romulans. What if the Romulans are actually
the ones that created the Borg?
Mm-hmm. What if the current Romulans are actually synthetics?
That would be wild.
I mean, that was one theory I saw on Facebook on one of the Facebook groups. I was like,
how would they not have caught that by now, though?
I mean, that's what I said. I was like, I mean, I guess that could be, but I don't think so.
Maybe one particular species, like the Northerner or something.
Yeah, like I don't see that happening. Like, I don't see them being synthetics. But I still want to stick with my thing of the old ancestor, like
the original Borg were created by the
Romulans and got out of control.
They shipped them off,
and that's why they're
so anti-synth.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very possible. I like it. I still like that theory. I love that theory. That's another official 4 Midwest Guy theory. There you In fact, that's our first one. So they finally get to actual Vashti in normal time, and they've installed some sort of second-hand planetary defense system with shields, weapons, and killer drones.
Yeah, that rotate around the planet like a force field that we've seen in Spaceballs.
Yeah, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I was thinking even the Nova Corps when they put their ships together to create a force field. So it's
which was Avengers.
Yeah, it's outdated, but apparently it's still very effective. It's more effective than the Romulan Bird of Prey, which we'll get to later.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardian of the Galaxy, yeah. It's very Guardians of the Galaxy. At first, Picard is not even granted access to the planet. And he asks, "Did you contact Central Station?" Well, that's where we started.
Did you contact Central Station? Tell him it's me. That's where we started. He's like, "Oh, okay then."
And he's like, "Suggestions?" Well, you could bribe him. Or you could offer a cash gift.
A cash gift is always nice. And he's like, huh.
It leads you to believe that's the only way he gets to the planet.
Right.
Because the next scene is him beaming down.
Yeah, him beaming down to the planet, which I pointed out to you. I said, did you notice
His garb.
His attire, they changed 14 years. So when he first showed up on the planet, all in white, as we would call it, Saint Picard.
Right.
This time he shows up, it's all black.
Mm.
You know, and they can't. They don't like him.
Picard the black, Picard the gray.
Right, and then the other thing that we ran into is what I was saying about the buildings are all not kept up.
No.
Like things are falling apart.
Yep.
The vines have grown over certain aspects of things. There's not as many birds flying through. You see more bugs flying than you do birds now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
it's run down. It looks like it's a place where thieves and smugglers and would kind of hang out.
What it reminds me of is that
like an old west town almost.
Well, it reminds me more so of like the inner city. So like it used to be real nice place to live.
Yeah.
And then people started moving out to the suburbs.
Yeah.
And this is the rundown part of town. Where all your crime and everything happens. And
crime,
yeah.
And a lot has changed. The biggest change is he looks over at that cafe, and now there's a sign there that says Romulans only on it.
Right. So basically no Terrans.
Yeah, no Terrans, no other kind of life.
Or humans, sorry.
Or humans, Terrans, or any other aliens. Just Romulan only, which is a big difference from what we saw when last time he was on there.
Yeah, where everything was an open book and hello.
Hi. Yeah, and he's even trying to initiate contact. Nobody's talking to him. Everybody's whispering around him, staring him down. He's very icy. I don't even think they realize it's Picard at first. I think just because he's an outsider at first, they're whispering.
Oh no, I think they.
You think they picked it up right away?
Because you could tell that. Because as soon as they show that, and they show that icy response, then they show her, Raffi on the ship saying, all their personal communication. He's blowing up, and it's not good. These aren't love letters. We need to get him out of there.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is him up on in the nun place.
Yeah, in the house.
And he's saying, "No, I'm staying. I'm going to talk to blah blah blah. I'm safe here." Blah, you know what I mean?
Right. So let's talk about the Quatmalat house. Basically, he shows up, and the first thing he says to Zany, who's the head nun, I guess, doesn't have the right, but he needs their help one more time.
Yeah.
You know. And
before that, he says he says, "Picard, you've gotten old."
Oh yeah.
And he says, "You haven't." And she goes, "Now, Picard, this is the House of Truths." I mean, he kind of laughs, and that's when he says, "I don't have the right to, but
I need your help." And then Eleanor walks in, but he's not a kid anymore. He's a full-grown elf right out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
From the hairstyle to the ears, the only difference is he's wearing a black garb.
And you know what I think it is that Romulans, the men cut their hair at a certain length, but the women don't.
Yeah, we're used to seeing Romulans with that bowl cut.
Right,
you know,
but the women don't. The women wear their hair longer, and he's been living with a house of nuns, so that's why he wears his hair longer.
Could be. It looks,
but it definitely 100%
looks like Lord of the Rings.
Yep,
it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea of a Romulan Lord of the Ring elf.
Like waiting for him to get his bow and arrow.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for him. That's the only thing he was missing.
Yeah.
This one just happens to be a samurai.
Yeah.
But it was cool looking. So we switched scenes to Soji visiting Ramda. And Narek is there. Creepy Narek. And the thing that I took away from this episode is a few key lines that Soji said. It's like she looked at me and I felt seen. Mm-hmm. And then she also said, I feel very drawn to her.
Yeah, I felt connected.
Yeah, which is interesting. And it's like part of her programming was somewhat activated. And we'd had that whole puppy scene. It was like a resetter. You know what I mean? That from the last episode.
Yeah, well, I think it's a... like, she's reading this stuff... And she's analyzing the data without realizing she's analyzing the data. Yeah. Because, like, she even brings up certain things where last episode, he was like, how do you know that?
How the hell did you
know well, I must have read it somewhere because I read blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And he's like...
Okay.
Yeah, like, well, I didn't even know that. And you know what I mean? It's like... So she's gathering data without actually realizing it.
Exactly. And then Narek does the whole, well, I see you.
Don't get me started on that.
And then in other words, he's saying, I know you, I know who you are. Yeah. And then they go on their Borg date. Yay!
So stupid. Like, I don't know what they're... I still don't understand this whole thing. Like, it's
an information.
Well, and it was, and he's like, and you're a paradigm. And he's like, well, I can blah, blah, blah. How's your paradigm now? And she's like, paradynamic, or whatever. Just like,
I know.
I'm like,
jeez.
I'm like, this is awful. And then he's like, come on, I'll show you this Borg ritual. And she's like, I didn't think the Borg had. That's what everyone thinks. And it's like,
yeah, it's an ice skating rink where the air return.
And then she doesn't know how to run. Did you realize that? Like, you're watching, like,
not really.
When he runs, he takes like 3 steps and goes, and does this like gay, like, ah, yeah. Okay, and then when she goes, she's. You can almost tell that she's a synthetic when she runs. Like, it was very, like...
robotic.
Yes. I mean, you have to go back and look at it.
Not very graceful.
But you can definitely tell that it's like a...
I guess I was too busy trying to figure out what the hell the scene was all about.
Instead
of what the...
I was like, this is stupid.
The only thing I got out of it is a date with the sub. They're just trying to get information out of each other the whole time.
Yeah, a back and forth.
Yeah, like she wants to know why are you watching me? You know, you get to go wherever the hell you want. You don't have a uniform.
You don't have a badge.
Yeah, you know. And then she's like, I want information on Rama's ship that's classified. Well... I might know.
Yeah, can you get that?
I might know somebody.
Yeah.
You know, this is where the whole Tal Shiar line comes in too. You know.
Yeah. The are you Tal Shiar? No. If you were, would you tell me no? Yes.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay.
You know, and then he's probing her at the same time. You know, he's like, well, how did you, your Romulan's very good. Where'd you learn? And how did you get here to the, wherever you were? And, well, I was on the Ellison and blah, blah, blah. And then,
yeah, my professor at U in Seattle taught me the
Romulan.
Yeah,
the
taught me the
Romulan.
Romulan. And,
and he's like, "Oh, well, how'd you get here?" Well, he starts revealing her history to her, and he's like, "Yeah, you were on the Ellis at such and such a date, and that's how you got to the Beta Quadrant, and blah blah blah." And she's like, "Oh, you have been watching me."
He's like, "Yeah, but not how you think."
Yeah, and he's like, and then that's when they do the whole kiss thing. And goes, "Well, why is there no record of you ever being actually on the Ellis?"
Well, yeah, because well, he says opposite of what Romulans do, there's a record of every Terran that's ever on a ship.
Why are you not on that?
Yeah, but you're not listed. Mm-hmm. She's like, but I was there. You're calling me a liar. She's like, to hell with you. And he's like, to hell with me. What about the information you need from me?
Right, that's the carrot to pull her back in.
Yeah.
And they're they're doing this whole back and forth thing, even though they're revealing that they both want something from the other one, and then they don't trust each other, and yet they still like sleeping with each other, and it's this very strange. I don't know what to call it. Maybe 007 super spy kind of. I don't know. What do you think? Kind of feel to it. It has that whole 007 kind of. Like, the spy who loved me kind of.
Well, you know what's really weird is that he's talking to when he talks to his sister.
Yeah, that's weird too. Yeah.
Okay, when he talks to his sister, he says, "I'm trying to find information." Blah blah blah. Well, it almost makes me believe that his sister is the enforcer type. Yeah. Like she is part of the secret military police. Mm-hmm. He's the relative of her, but he's more of the
analyst type.
He's more of the analyst, the archaeologist.
Okay,
he's more of the archaeologist, and he wants to know stuff. But he's still part of the
Zod Vaj or whatever.
Yeah, Zod Vaj or whatever. He's still part of that group, but he's more of the archaeologist type, so he wants to know what happened. He's not out to destroy something. He just wants to know what happened.
Right.
And so that's why he's on these fact finding. How did you know about this? Blah blah blah. Let me help you find this shit. Maybe it's on this. I don't know. It's weird. I get that weird vibe from him. Like he's torn.
Yeah.
Between wanting to know the truth and wanting to do what they're asking,
and actually falling in love the whole time, and that whole weird thing with love with a robot. So let's switch to the next scene real quick. So this is Picard pissing everybody off on Vashti / the recruitment of Elnor. So we still in the house of the battle nuns. The Quat Malat. Picard feels sorry for Eleanor. He's basically, I guess it's more regret, and he's talking to Zany, and he's talking not just about Eleanor, but he's talking about the planet. What happened? There's so much this. There's so much crime. There's what happened. He's just basically, I regret everything. He's almost like he's confessing to her, kind of like a download almost.
Yeah, well, it kind of felt that way, but it also felt like he was doing the like blaming
a little bit,
almost blaming her, like what happened here, all the degradation and the crime and the and she's like,
how did it all fall apart? So fast?
Yeah, she's like it's like, wait. You were the one that promised that this was not a permanent solution.
Yeah,
So
you chose to save no one. That's kind of
if you couldn't.
Punchback.
Yeah, if you couldn't save one, you were going to save no one.
Yeah, which is punch to the gut, really. And really, Picard gets a lot. Just takes it. I mean, really, just takes it on. Even though the whole thing is not his fault, he's definitely taking the brunt of it. And then, but then she goes on to say, well, you could also rescue, Elnor. You could, basically she goes on and on, like he's been trained, he finishes training in spring. He can't be one of us because he's a man. This is a woman's only, but he could, go with you, essentially.
Correct. Yeah, he'll never be a Quad Malat.
Right.
Because he's not a woman.
Right, but she's like, and he's like, well, he could die. It's dangerous. He could die. And she's like, well, I'd rather see him live, even if he does die, or he's going to die eventually. At some point.
He's going to die eventually, either of old age or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like to see him live his life.
Yeah. No.
Before that happens.
Give him purpose, essentially.
Yeah, because he can't go fight as a Quad Malat. He's trained as one.
Right.
And he's finished all his training, but he can never go help anybody and do anything because
under
he's not,
the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So Elnor listens to Picard.
Which goes back to your thing of a knight.
Yes.
Because women weren't knights.
Right.
Back in the day.
So the closest thing I got is Joan of Arc in our history. It's kind of a role reversal, really. Mm-hmm. So, Elnor listens to Picard's story and then basically gets upset because, well, you left me as a boy and now you just want me because of my abilities. So basically, fuck off.
Yeah, well, you could tell, you could tell it was already underneath the skin.
Oh yeah.
Before they even started talking about the story.
Yeah, the plate throwing down.
Yeah, you could tell that he was already angry because he was angry that Picard left him.
Yeah, very much so.
But he hadn't he hadn't said anything, and she even said he's usually blah 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 blah, except for these temper tantrums basically that you pull out of him.
Yes.
When you're around.
Right.
And you could just tell that he was already angry, and so it got to a certain point in the storytelling and everything else that he was like, all right, since it's an open book place, here it is. You hurt me by not blah 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 blah, and now you only want me around because of my abilities and whatever, and why should I even help you? And he's like, well, I need blah blah blah. Well, that's why you need someone. Why do you want me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was
it's
like,
all about him.
Yeah.
And he basically walks out on him. And then we switch to Picard going back out into the city and kind of doing a civil rights act. Basically takes that whole Romulan only sign, throws it on the ground, stomps on it, walks right over it, sits himself down in the
Romulan cafe. Yeah. Calls for the waiter.
Yeah.
And the waiter kind of walks away.
Ignores him. The guy that was sitting at his table, he's going to sit down next to him, gets up. I mean, icy as all can be.
Yeah.
And then eventually we get this Romulan senator, who I couldn't catch his name because it was just way too out there. And he just downloads on Picard. He's like, well, I was a senator and you did this great speech and I was in tears and you had all these promises to save the Romulans and blah blah blah, and you know, and we all got on board the ship, this one particular class, and we packed up 5 generations and we all moved just on your promise, and then he blames him for giving up and breaking his promise, essentially.
Yeah, and you abandoned us.
Yeah, and you left us. And then he takes it a step further, and he blames him for almost like plotting to destroy the Romulans by you broke us up, you made us weaker by splitting up. You didn't think about our ingenuity and how we could rebuild ourselves. And
right, but that doesn't make
is bullshit. But you know.
Yeah, what doesn't make much sense to me is like, do they not realize that their planet blew up?
That's what they've forgotten.
That's what when the whole argument was going on, he was like, and you moved us and blah blah blah, and I'm like, but your planet blew up.
Yeah.
Like, what were you going to do?
Yeah, we're going to die?
Exactly. Like, so he saved
you.
He
couldn't save everybody, but he saved you.
Yeah. Like, it was one of those, I was like,
but it's
trying to figure it out. Like, this isn't making sense.
It's basically, it's where the society broke down because they lost all hope. Because they were left in limbo, they wouldn't really get to go to their actual worlds that they were supposed to. They're left on this kind of desert planet, I guess, and they have to... There's a lot of what happens. There's a power vacuum. Crime moves in. People, probably all this heinous stuff is heinous. I'm Bill and Ted. All this bad stuff has happened, and thanks, man. Be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
We will review that movie, by the way. But all this is happening. They don't have anybody to blame, so they're blaming who's not present. They're blaming Picard. They're blaming the Federation.
Well, they're blaming Picard because Picard was the
symbol.
That was their symbol of Starfleet. He was the one that presented everything. It was his plan.
Yep.
He had the answers. It was him. He was the culmination of everything. But his backing left, and so he had no way of fulfilling everything. And it wasn't his fault
per se.
But that's who they blame because that's
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because it's easier to blame one person than it is a bigger problem, right? So that's kind of what's happened here. And then they force him into a duel with the senator. Picard throws down his sword, and then Eleanor finally shows up with the whole, I'm pledging myself to Picard. Anybody who attacks him, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And
make your choice.
And unfortunately, the senator makes a move at Picard, and he goes all like Jedi on it. He cuts one guy in the stomach and then cuts the senator's head clean off. So yeah, they are definitely fierce warriors. I can see why they're feared and why you don't screw with them. Because he just whooped. I mean, it kind of took me back. They took off his head. I was expecting maybe to get run through, but
or push him out of the way. Yeah,
like you see the green blood split out and just off the head goes and down the body goes. It's like, wow, okay. I can see why why this is on a streaming service now. You can get away with that kind of stuff. And then Picard stops him, and then Picard actually does kind of like a public apology in the middle of all this after he's killed this guy. While everybody's still stunned, he just basically, I don't know, he takes I guess you could say, I don't know if he...
Did that happen before or after?
After. Because he stops him. He said, that's enough. And then he he goes into this whole spiel. And it's almost like he's...
Because he feels for him.
He feels for him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was his promise.
Yeah.
And, he does feel bad that it happened.
Right.
Because he even in his interview he did with the TV show,
right,
he even said, it was almost downright criminal.
Right, it wasn't just dishonorable, it was criminal. Yeah.
Right, and he feels bad because he did think that he was able to save everybody, and, all of his next generation stuff was able to, help him. And it was a decent speech.
It was.
But I don't know if it's going to do any good.
Not at this point.
But it kind of reminds me of a, and I will do my best, blah blah blah. But if you notice, he didn't say I promise.
No, there were no promises this time.
Yeah,
because this was all about broken promises.
Yes, and he goes, and I will try to make it better. Almost kind of like a.
I broke. Well, he even uses the word break. I broke faith with you.
Yes. And it was a like, but To me, it gave me an effect of like, but you guys need to work on making this better.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, I can't do it by myself, kind of thing.
Right, I'm an old man.
Yeah. And then they go to the ship.
Yeah, they finally beam him out right because they're about to shoot him, start pulling out blasters.
Yeah, because he says, well, your blade's no match for a blaster.
Yeah.
And
disruptor, yeah.
And when they get up there to the ship, Picard tells Eleanor, you don't fight unless I tell you to fight. There was no reason to kill him. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's the captain coming back out at him. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's a reprimand essentially. It's like thanks, but in the future, don't fucking do this without my approval.
And then he says, "Swear it."
Yes, and then he does the whole.
Yeah. I swear.
I swear. Yeah. Let's move on to the next scene real quick, which is because we jumped ahead just for a second with that whole, but it needed to be talked about with Eleanor. But the next scene is actually Narek and his quote unquote sister. Dude, she's all over him and acts sexual with him. This is the second scene she's done it. Actually, even in the first episode, she flirted with it a little bit in the hologram. Just really weird, strange.
Well, yeah, she's like in bed with him, and she's
anatomically correct.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, what are we watching?
Yeah, it's like creepy. Okay, apparently incest is big in the Tal Shiar or the Vat, whatever. Okay. And
the Sib massage.
So he does ask her for what Soji's wanting though. He does ask her for Ramda's ship assimilation information.
Yeah.
And then she counters back, well, what have you done for me? And then she reminds him of who Soji really is to them. She is the enemy. She is the what? And he's literally choking the life out of him, pretty much in his face, and makes him say the Seb Cheneb, which is the destroyer. So that's their word for the destroyer.
Yeah.
She's really driving the point home to him, and she gives him a week to do it his way, or they're going to go back to her way, which is what they did on Earth.
Yep.
With Dash. What'd you think about this whole crazy scene?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I said, it was just felt off.
Yeah,
it felt like very awkward. It was like, what are we watching? Like, what are we doing this for? Like,
it shows you how creepy and evil this whatever we're dealing with, the Zod Vouchers.
Well, you know what? It kind of reminds me of like ancient Egypt, where like brothers and sisters in the royalty were. Yeah. Or same thing with like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Where brothers and sisters were, and it was just like, this is really weird. Like, why are we bringing this into Star Trek?
Yeah. It's definitely a strange element. I could have done without the whole brother sister sexual shit. Mm-hmm. She could have just been just as evil, just choking him, making him, reminding him that way.
Right.
Yeah, it brings a whole nother level of creepiness.
Like came up behind him while he was in the bathroom, like brushing his teeth.
Something, yeah.
And pin him against the door and said, "Who is she?" Blah blah blah. blah. You know, like, instead of him waking up in bed and thinking it's her, and is she anatomically correct? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know, right? Or if you're gonna do that, don't make his sister. Just make her
somebody else.
Jealous lover would have been better. Yeah, it would have worked just fine. But yeah, I don't know. But she's definitely driving home the point that time is short and is building the pressure on Narek to complete his plan, to complete his manipulation much quicker than he's probably wanting.
Right, because like we, it's almost like he's an archaeologist, and he's under the, you just peel back the layers,
Yeah.
To reveal what's underneath, kind of like they do with archaeology, where they take off layers of dirt to find the fossil, and then they take toothbrushes to
get down to the fine.
Yeah, and that's what he wants to do, and she's more of a find what it is, blast it, get it away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Find out where the root is, cut it, get it gone.
And that's the other thing we learned from this scene is she needs their goal with her. We find out is to find out where she came from, so that they can go after wherever she came from, and if there's more of them, wipe them out.
Right.
This advanced, because I get the impression that they think there's an advanced synth culture or civilization out there, even. And at least that's like there's more.
Well,
there's
because
a bunch of them.
well, because two of them appeared at the same time frame, and magically had backstories and everything else in the system, but they were never.
They were placed as spies themselves. Yeah.
Like they were just inserted into society. And here's your backstory, and you'll believe it, and no one will know. And
and what's your plan? So what is their plan? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move to the final scene. The Rio ship is being attacked by not only the planetary defenses of Vashti now, but also that Romulan bird of prey has shown up, and they're being fired above by both. We get our fourth holographic program, a weapons officer who seems to be speaking French and has long hair and looks like maybe he's a drunk taken right out of, like a drunken musketeer right out of the Three Musketeers book.
Picard was written by earlier.
Yeah. And, again, is it another side of the captain's personality, or again is the captain
the fifth,
the captain hologram for the ship?
Yeah.
Which I'm very strong. I think I'm going to bump that up to a 60%. I think the more we learn about existential death and all that.
Yeah, existential death. Well, it was really funny because when Picard first met him, he was sitting in a different seat in that ship, reading the same book, and in this one, he was in a different seat reading that book.
Yeah.
When she came to the front, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm bumping it up to 60%. I think that's becoming a high likelihood. And then they're losing the battle essentially because they're driving them towards the planet with the greater defenses, and suddenly a new ship comes out and helps them out, and actually helps them disable take off one of the wings of the bird of prey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as the ship gets hit and it's about to crash, they beam her over. And who is it?
Well, yeah, we're getting a hail.
Yeah, from the captain of the other ship.
And saying my ship is falling. They're saying the ship is falling because we don't hear anything.
Yeah.
My ship is falling apart. Beam me over now. And they says, beam him over. Oh, I mean.
Yeah.
In the hologram, that's why I think it's a hologram. He's like.
Yeah.
And he goes.
They're arguing with each other though, because the weapons officer's like no. And
but the captain. No, what I'm saying is the captain
agrees
with Picard and just says, basically, okay, whatever you want to do.
Well, the captain's taken back by her piloting skills too.
Yeah.
That's a terrible looking ship. Yeah, but she's a magnificent pilot.
And Picard's like, right here, beam them over right here.
And then he gives the okay.
Yeah.
And sure enough, who is it? It is 7 of 9 has made her appearance. Picard, you owe me a ship, and passes out.
Yeah.
I knew she was going to show up probably at the end of this episode because I think preview-wise
the preview for the next week she has her in a bunch.
So,
but I'm hoping that she's just in the rest of the season.
I am too.
I'm hoping it's not a 1 or 2 episode thing and she's done.
I don't think so. I think because they got the Borg so heavily involved,
and that's why I'm hoping
she's going to introduce them to Hugh, and that's how they're going to make their connection on the Borg cube and stuff like that. That's just a guess. So I don't know. Real quick, Brian, what do you think? That's the end of the show. But before we leave, what do you think grade wise? Grade wise, we're staying pretty much on par.
Yeah. We haven't really like some of the shows we've watched before in the past, like Gotham, where we would just do the giant roller coasters week in, week out. Where it's like, wow, this is a great episode this week. Can't wait for next week. And next week, I'm like, oh, this is awful. Blah, blah, blah. And next week, oh, this is a great episode. We've been pretty even keel, and we started out.
It's a high keel. Too.
Yeah. We started out. I said I don't want to start out too high because I'm afraid we'll get into that range where the week after next is gonna be so great.
Yeah.
We won't have any ceiling left.
Right.
I've stayed pretty steady, right about a 7.
Okay.
And I would say this is right about the same, about a 7.5. We got a little bit more depth behind the scenes stuff. The possibility of him being a hologram all the way around the whole ship.
That helps.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
The attire where he came in the beginning, he was in white and part of it was in black.
Yeah.
The use of the blade where we see him training Eleanor and fencing techniques.
Yeah, with the stick, yeah.
And then to see him
with the sword.
With the sword at the end, that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
So I'll bump mine up from my usual 7. I'll bump it up to 7.5. I'll bump it up a half.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that this is one of the shows we decided we were gonna
review from the beginning.
Yeah, because I really like this. I mean, I'm almost liking this more so than I liked The Mandalorian.
Really? Wow.
Only because The Next Generation was more of my. I watched every episode of The Next Generation.
That's fair.
And I didn't really get into Star Wars
until we started doing podcasting.
And well, not really that. I mean, I was into Star Wars, but I mean, like we went and saw the premiere. But the first time I actually think I saw a Star Wars in the theater was when they episode 1.
Yeah.
And we went to the Showcase Cinemas, and we were all there with Megan and Stoltz and everybody, and we saw it in the theater. And then that was my first experience of seeing the whole crowd and everybody, when
dressed up.
when the title thing came on, everybody was like, yeah, and it was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like that was like my first time actually getting into it. But as opposed to Next Generation,
which you watched
I watched all the time. Like, and that was one of those things. Like, I had a TV next to my bed. Offshoot story. I had a TV next to my bed. It was one of those turn knobs. And,
yeah, me too.
And I was sitting next to my bed, and I was on the opposite side of the house of my parents. And at night, if I would wake up, I could turn it on and have the volume up just enough that I could hear it. Yeah. And late at night.
TNG reruns.
And I could just sit there and watch them on Channel 19. It's like sitting there like, this is good. I like the show, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's why I find a connection more so to this, more so than that, because there's actually, no offense to Star Wars, but there's a story. And it's more of a deeper story that you have to, as a person, kind of put together.
There's a lot more science than there is fantasy.
Yeah, and it's not put out there right in front of you, and you're like, oh, I can see this and this and this. This is more of a thought. Like you're like, ooh, I wonder if this is like this.
Yeah, I know where you're going with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 7.5. Sorry.
7.5. Okay. I'm gonna go. I've been flirting between an 8 and an 8.5. I'm gonna go 8.5 solid. I want to go 9, but I'm going to hold back the reins. I love this episode. We pick up a new character. We pick up more information about Picard and what happened and the fallout from what happened with the whole Mars bombing and how the whole mission fell apart and the repercussions and the prom. Really, this episode should be called Broken Promises because it's all about promises made and promises not kept.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Call it Promises Unkept.
Yeah.
Instead of, what was it called? Candor or something? Absolute Candor.
Absolute Candor, which it is. It's absolute truth, but or facing the truth even. Yeah. But yeah, to me, it's broken promises and what happens as a result of those massive mistakes and broken promises that happen and how Picard's... He's getting beat up the whole time. I mean, he's taking it, even though it's not fully his fault, but he is the face of Starfleet and he is the face of this rescue mission. So, what happens when a saint falls? Well, this is what happens. There's serious repercussions. So I love that. I love the idea of introducing this whole new element to Star Trek as far as expanding the lore. We really expand the Star Trek lore with not only this series but with this individual character, this this whole nun female knights of the round table kind of feel to it. But this one is a guy. He's the outsider because he's a guy, and he looks like he's from Lord of the Rings, but he's not. But he's in the Star Trek world, and he's badass. He's got some Jedi skills.
Sister Act Ninja.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for that character. I just think it's a neat idea to throw into the Star Trek world, and we get more of his, get a little bit of his background story. And at the very end, we get 7 of 9, which is a right from Voyager and another classic Star Trek character. If I have to bet for the next episode, it'll probably be a little bit of background between how Picard and 7 and 9 met as they're going on to Free Cloud before they get to Free Cloud, and then we get to Free Cloud and more action happens.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the theme. This is kind of how we're building each episode. We're adding another layer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the trailer they even showed us that when they get to Free Cloud, it's an ambush.
Yeah, and
even Picard said in this episode that he was she's like, your mission is dire, blah blah blah, and you're gonna be, are you being followed? He's like, more anticipated.
Yeah.
So like somebody they know he's coming.
Right. Exactly.
And it seems like that's gonna be
with the obstacle.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap. Yeah. So it's there's a lot to look forward to. I think the series is phenomenal. I'm enjoying every second of it, and much like The Mandalorian, much like a lot of the other series that are online that do it the weekly, including even Discovery, which is not quite as good as Picard, but yeah, it leaves you wanting more.
Yeah.
Right. Is it already over? Damn. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even these episodes are a little longer, so they're 40-something minutes.
A little bit longer, but
one last thing to throw in there for you.
Yeah.
In case you want to be part of the Star Trek Picard universe.
Oh, okay.
And you want to be part of that universe. Feel like you're part of that.
Uh-huh.
When Elnor is a babe, like he's a little kid,
yeah,
and he's running through the market, and he grabs that piece of fruit.
Yeah.
That's dragon fruit.
It's called dragon fruit.
They sell it at your local supermarket. Because I've had it before. Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, ooh, dragon fruit. And so if you cut it open,
yeah,
on the inside it's white with black polka dots.
Really?
And you just scoop it out like with a spoon and eat it. And it's really sweet.
Really?
It's pretty good.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Go buy your dragon fruit and feel connected. Before we go, where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? Here's our blind page here.
Cover the whole screen here.
Yeah. The best place to go is www.4midwestguys.com. You'll find links to our Facebook, to our Twitter, to our Podbean, to our iTunes, to our Instagram even, and email, which is all listed here, as you can see. If you do want to find us just on Facebook, it's facebook.com/4 Midwest Guys. You can find us on Twitter at the 4 Midwest Guys. You can find myself at bwilly1977. Brian, where can they find you?
You can tweet me at AnkZone.
You can also find us on Instagram at the _4 Midwest_Guys. And you can email us, good old-fashioned email at the 4 MidwestGuys@gmail.com. As you can see, 4 Midwest Guys is your keyword to look for. We've been expanding. We're now on TuneIn. I'm trying to get us on iHeartRadio.
We're on there.
We are on iHeartRadio. Are you sure about that?
100%.
Okay.
We are on everything.
Hopefully.
I checked.
Hopefully. I've tried.
We're on Spotify now. We're on TuneIn. We are on...
I can't confirm Spotify or iHeart. I haven't seen it yet.
I can confirm.
Okay, he's confirming.
I'm confirming.
So I've been expanding places to find us. But really the one-stop shop is that 4midwestguys.com.
Because my daughter didn't believe me.
Oh, really?
Because I was telling her, I said, you can pull us up now on Spotify or iHeartRadio, and she's like, no, you can't. I said, look it up, and she pulled it up, and she goes, who's B. Willie? Because that's what it's listed as.
From me.
Yeah, and I said Willenbring. She goes, oh, but yeah, we're right on there.
Cool. All right, so there you go. I've been trying to get us out there on as many platforms as I can. If we're not on a platform that you use, let us know, and I will definitely go out of my way to make sure we're on there. But I think I've hit all the major ones now. That just gives you the audio. If you want the video, you want to go to our YouTube channel, which is also on. Links is on the website.
Mm-hmm.
All of our podcasts are listed in chronological order, with the newest at the top, working its way down on the website. There are categories for each individual show. If you just want to watch individual shows, you click that link at the top. Boom.
Yeah, if you're just starting out and you're just watching Picard, the first one, you can always go back and watch our review of the first episode.
And Picard is in video and audio format. We're working on reinstituting all of our audio onlys as well. So this episode as well will be in video, which you see now. And for those of you who can't, there will be the audio only as well. Mm-hmm. So if you are in the car, you like to mow the grass, you cleaning the house, working out at the gym, this is a great podcast to listen to. So make sure you do so. All right. Well, Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, B. Willie saying, live long and prosper.
It's a great book.
There you go. We'll catch you next time.